It began as an ordinary morning. Children walked to school. People rushed to work. The streets were full of life. The sky above was bright, clean, and blue. Then it changed. A shadow, faint at first, spread across the clouds. It looked like a storm was coming, but there were no clouds, no wind. The air was still, heavy, and wrong. People paused. They looked up. Something was moving in the sky. At first it looked like a single dark speck, big to be a bird, too slow to be a plane. Then another appeared beside it. Then another. Dozens. Hundreds. The shadow grew larger until the sun dimmed. The morning light faded to a strange grey. Streetlights flickered on in the middle of the day. No one spoke. No one moved. They only stared. A man in New York dropped his coffee cup. A woman in Tokyo stopped her car in the middle of the road. Children on playgrounds fell silent, clutching their teachers' hands. The shapes in the sky grew sharper. They were ships, not human ships, not anything that had ever been built on Earth. They were enormous city-sized machines of black metal, their surfaces covered in strange glowing symbols. They moved silently, without the roar of engines. The air around them shimmered, as if the very atmosphere was bending in fear. The first news reports came within minutes. Unidentified objects spotted over multiple continents. Governments confirm this is not a drill. Phones buzzed. Radios screamed emergency alerts. Television channels switched to live coverage. The whole planet was watching. From the deserts of Africa to the frozen ice of Antarctica, the alien fleet hung above Earth like vultures waiting to feed. Panic started, a few people running, a few cars speeding away. But panic is contagious. Within an hour, entire cities were in chaos. Shops closed. Airports locked down. Police tried to keep order, but no one listened. In Washington, D.C., leaders gathered in the White House war room. In Moscow, generals studied satellite images with hard, cold eyes. In Beijing, command centers were already issuing defensive orders, but no one knew what to do. No one had ever prepared for this. Then came the first sound. It was not an explosion. It was not even loud. It was a low, deep vibration, like the growl of a giant animal, too far to see but close enough to feel in the bones. The alien fleet was speaking, but not with words. Every screen on Earth went black. Every phone went silent. And then they appeared. On every device, every television, every public screen. A single figure stood against a background of darkness. It was tall, thin, and wrapped in armor that shimmered like oil on water. Its face was hidden, but too pale. Cold lights burned where its eyes should be. When it spoke, the voice was deep, echoing, and layered with something not human. "People of Earth," it said, "you are now under the authority of the Karith Dominion. Surrender your weapons, your armies, and your leaders. Resistance will be met with erasure." The voice paused, letting the words settle like poison in the air. "You have 1 hour." The image vanished. The screens went back to chaos emergency news. People screaming, alarms blaring. In cities, people prayed. Some ran to hide. Others simply froze, their eyes wide, their breaths short. The alien ships began to move, slowly drifting into formation. Above the world's largest population centers, New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing, Sao Paulo, the ground beneath them vibrated as if the planet itself feared what was coming. But somewhere, deep underground, there was no fear. Beneath the rocky mountains, in a hidden base known only to a few. General Marcus Hale watched a live feed with a face carved from stone. Around him, officers whispered nervously, tapping on screens, sending encrypted messages. A younger officer turned to him. "Sir, orders from the UN say we should begin negotiations. Try to talk." General Hale did not look away from the screens. "Negotiations?" His voice was cold. "Do you think they crossed half the galaxy to talk?" The officer hesitated. "If we fight, they'll destroy us." Hale interrupted, his lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "Son, they're about to learn what destroy really means." The officer frowned. "Sir, what are you saying?" "I'm saying," Hale said, leaning closer to the glowing map on the table, "that this is the day we finally wake up the Sentinel." Around the room, officers froze. Some looked shocked. Others looked afraid. One whispered, "I thought Sentinel was just a myth." Hale's eyes hardened. "It's no myth. And if these Carith think Earth will kneel, he'll let the sentence hang unfinished above them in the skies." The alien fleet began to glow with strange energy. Lights pulsed across their hulls. Weapons were charging. The countdown to the hour had begun. Somewhere in the streets above, a little girl held her father's hand and asked, "Daddy, are they going to hurt us?" Her father didn't know what to say, but deep beneath the earth, General Hale already had his answer, one that no alien could imagine. The 1-hour deadline ticked away like a slow, heavy drumbeat dot around the world. Streets were emptying. People stayed inside, curtains closed, televisions glowing in dark rooms. Every news channel showed the same image: giant alien warships floating above cities, like shadows of doom in New York. The Carith flagship hovered so low it cast a solid darkness over Manhattan. Its underbelly was a maze of weapons, ports, and strange spinning structures that glowed with an unearthly blue light. On the ground, military vehicles rolled into position. Tanks pointed their barrels upward. Jets waited on runways, engines hot but silent. The United Nations broadcast one last desperate signal, pleading for peace. The aliens did not respond. Then, without warning, the sky erupted. A beam of pure light tore through the clouds, slamming into a skyscraper in London. The building did not explode, it simply vanished. Dust fell where steel had once stood. Another beam struck in Beijing, then another in Cairo. The Carith were not attacking soldiers. They were targeting the heart of human civilization. In the control room beneath the Rockies, alarms blared. "They're targeting major infrastructure." A lieutenant shouted, "Power grids are down in 6 countries." Another yelled. General Hale stood still, his eyes fixed on the tactical map. Red dots blinked over every continent. "They're not just conquering," Hale said quietly. "They're erasing us." A young officer turned to him, panic in his eyes. "Sir, if we wait any longer, we're not waiting." Hale cut in. "Get me clearance on Sentinel, now." The officer hesitated. "Sir, you know the risk," I said. "Now." Across the table, Cologne Reyes, a tall woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. "You really think Sentinel can stop them?" "It's not about stopping them," Hale replied. "It's about showing them what humanity really is." Far above, in orbit, the Carith commander stood on the bridge of his flagship. His name, unpronounceable in any human tongue, meant breaker of worlds. He had destroyed dozens of planets. This one would be no different. Primary phase complete, his lieutenant reported. Civilian panic levels at maximum. Human militaries scattered. Begin the final phase, the commander said. His voice was cold, calculated. End this world before their sun sets. On Earth, the final countdown had begun. But deep under the ocean, something was waking. In a chamber carved into the seafloor, giant machines stirred. Thick cables pulsed with light. Sealed doors groaned as locks disengaged. And in the center of the chamber, buried for decades, was Sentinel. It did not look like a ship. It did not look like any weapon humans had built before. Its form was strange, almost organic-like, a living creature forged from metal and energy. Its surface shimmered with patterns that shifted like water as its systems powered up. Deep vibrations rattled the ocean floor. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, a large red screen lit up. Sentinel activation sequence, -47% status. Hale barked. Power surge detected. All systems stable, Reyes reported. Neural link initializing. Hale nodded. Good. Connect the operators. In another room, a group of 12 men and women sat in strange chairs, surrounded by wires. They wore sleek helmets that covered their eyes. Each helmet was linked to Sentinel's mind. These were not just pilots, they were part of the weapon. One of them, a young woman named Kara Voss, took a deep breath as the neural feed came online. Images flashed in her mind: dark water, shifting metal, glowing energy veins. She could feel Sentinel's heartbeat. "We're online," Kara said softly. "It's awake." Up above, the Karith flagship's sensors detected movement beneath the Pacific Ocean. "Commander," the alien science officer said, "we are picking up an anomalous energy spike from the planet's oceans. It matches no known human technology." The Karith leader narrowed his glowing eyes. "Destroy it." The order was sent instantly. One of the smaller Karith destroyers broke formation and descended toward the ocean. Its weapons, charging it, never reached its target. The sea exploded. A massive surge of water rose into the air, carrying with it something no alien had seen before. Sentinel burst from the waves, its body shining with an otherworldly light. Energy crackled along its limbs. It stood taller than any human structure, its eyes glowing with a fierce human-born light. The Karith destroyer fired. Sentinel moved, not like a machine, not like a human craft, but like a predator. It vanished in a blur, reappearing beside the destroyer, slamming a beam of its own through the alien hull. The ship split in two, burning as it fell into the sea. In the Rocky Mountain base, the control room erupted in cheers. "Direct hit. Target eliminated." Reyes shouted. Hale didn't smile. His voice was steel. "That was the easy part. Now let's see how the rest of them like it." Above Earth, the alien fleet shifted. The Karith commander stared at the new threat on his screen. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he had forgotten. Unease, double quotes, focus, all fire on that construct. He ordered, and so, the real battle began. Asterisk, the ocean still trembled from Sentinel's rise. It stood above the waves like a metal giant, its armor glowing with threads of golden light. Water poured down its limbs in great waterfalls, and each step it took sent ripples rolling for miles. Inside the neural chamber, Kara Voss and the other 11 operators felt every movement, as if Sentinel's body were their own. The connection was more than control, it was a union of human thought and machine instinct. Kara's heart pounded, but her voice was steady. "Systems are fully synced. Sentinel is ready." In the Rocky Mountain command room, General Hale's gaze was locked on the screens. Then let's show them what ready looks like. High above, the Carith fleet reacted. The flagship's commander stared at Sentinel's image, magnified across his view screen. "What is this thing?" he demanded. The science officer hissed. "No record of it in our archives. It radiates an energy pattern unlike anything human technology should produce. It feels alive." "Alive," the commander growled. "Then it can die. All ships converge and destroy it." The alien armada shifted. Dozens of warships descended, their weapons lighting the sky in a storm of blue fire. Kara's eyes snapped, open inside the neural link. Incoming. Sentinel moved, faster than anything that size should move. It leaped sideways across the water, each step erupting into massive waves. Alien beams tore through the air where it had been, blasting the ocean into boiling steam. The operators didn't just dodge, they countered. Kara locked her focus on a cruiser. Sentinel's right arm reconfigured, plates shifting and folding until a massive rail cannon formed. With a thought, she fired. The projectile screamed through the sky and slammed into the cruiser, punching clean through its core. The ship burst into fire and fell toward the sea. Direct hit on enemy vessel, Colonel Reyes reported from the control room. "One down, multiple closing in." Hale nodded. "Keep them guessing. Don't give them a single clean shot." But the Carith weren't used to guessing. They had conquered worlds without resistance. They had never faced prey that fought back, let alone prey with weapons that defied their understanding. The commander watched another of his ships explode under Sentinel's fire. "It adapts," he muttered. "It learns." His second in stepped forward nervously. "Perhaps we should." "No," the commander snapped. "Double the attack. Overwhelm it before it becomes a greater threat." The air became chaos. Alien beams rained down, tearing massive holes in the sea. Sentinel answered with its own storm rail cannons, energy arcs, and blades of pure light slicing through alien hulls. Then Sentinel shifted again. Its entire form seemed to melt and reforge in seconds. The operators gasped as they felt new. Systems coming online, systems they hadn't been told about. "What is this?" one of them asked. Kara's eyes widened inside her helmet. "It's evolving." From the Rocky Mountains, Hale saw it too. "They're seeing only a fraction of what Sentinel can do," he said quietly. "Let's give them the rest." Reyes hesitated. "Sir, are you sure?" "The experimental systems haven't been tested." "They're being tested right now," Hale said. A command was sent. Sentinel's armor plates split open, revealing glowing panels beneath. Energy flared so bright it lit the night sky like a second sun. Above, the alien ships fired again, but this time the beams bent away, curving harmlessly into the ocean. Sentinel had activated its gravitational shields. Now it was the hunter in a blur. It launched upward from the sea, closing the distance to a battleship in seconds. The operators felt the alien hull beneath Sentinel's hands as they tore it apart. A core the size of a house was ripped free and hurled into another ship, the impact shattering both in a blinding explosion in the flagship. The Carith commander gripped the rail, his claws digging into the metal. "Impossible," the science officer's voice trembled. "Commander, if this continues, we risk total fleet loss." The commander's eyes narrowed. "We will not flee from primitives. Prepare the planet killer." The officer hesitated. "But that weapon will do it." Back on Earth, Hale's officer shouted, "Sir, alien flagship is charging a massive energy buildup. It's bigger than anything we've seen." Hale's jaw tightened. Then we end this before they fire. Tell the operators they have one shot. Inside the neural chamber, Kara felt the urgency in her bones. Everyone sync with me, she ordered. We take the flagship now. Sentinel dove into the ocean, vanishing beneath the waves, only to surge upward moments later. Directly beneath the alien flagship, its rail cannons fired at full power, cracking through the flagship's shields. The aliens fired back, beams colliding in mid-air with explosions that shook the clouds. Sentinel pushed forward, ramming its entire body into the enemy's hull. Metal screamed. Energy flared. For a heartbeat, it seemed neither would survive. Then the flagship began to break. In the command room, Reyes whispered, "It's working." Hale didn't look away from the screens. It's only just begun. Far above, the alien commander realized the truth too late. Sentinel wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's will made metal, and it wasn't stopping. Asterisk, the alien flagship, burned, not from fire, but from the tearing force of Sentinel's assault. Chunks of molten hull fell into the ocean below, hissing as they vanished into steam. The Kareth fleet shifted in panic, breaking formation to protect their commanders. Ship. Inside the neural chamber, Karavos felt Sentinel's fury. It wasn't just following her commands. It was driven, as if the machine itself understood the stakes. Shields at 60%, one of the operators reported through clenched teeth. "Keep pushing," Kara barked. "We can't let them fire that planet killer." On the Kareth bridge, alarms screamed in alien tones. The commander gripped the edge of the control platform, glaring at the shifting holograms before him. Status. The science officer's voice wavered. Flagship integrity at 42%. Weapon charge at 76%. Then fire before it's gone. The commander growled. The officer froze. "Sir, if we fire this close to the atmosphere, the damage will do it." From the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Hale's voice cut through the chaos. "They're seconds away from firing. If that weapon goes off, we lose everything." Reyes tell the operators to engage Protocol 0. Reyes turned sharply. "Sir, Protocol 0 hasn't been field tested." If it fails, Hale said, "we're already dead." In the neural chamber, Kara heard the order. Her pulse quickened. "All units, sync for Protocol 0. The operators closed their eyes, focusing their thoughts into one unified rhythm. Sentinel's systems responded, energy building within its core. Armor plates shifted, locking into a new formation. Panels along its limbs opened, exposing brilliant lines of light that pulsed like veins. Core power at 120%, 150%. A voice reported. Kara gritted her teeth. "Keep going." Above the ocean, Sentinel moved faster than the eye could follow. One moment it was beneath the flagship, the next it was directly in front of it, blocking the weapon's firing arc. The Kareth commander bared his jagged teeth. "Move it aside and fire." But before his crew could respond, Sentinel unleashed. Protocol 0. It didn't fire a beam. It didn't launch a missile. It bent space. A shockwave of twisted gravity rippled outward, warping the very air. Alien ships around the flagship were caught mid-flight, their hulls groaning as their own mass turned against them. Some imploded instantly, crumpling into spheres of twisted metal. Others spun out of control, crashing into one another in fiery bursts. The flagship's shields flared, struggling to hold. Inside, the commander felt the deck shift beneath his feet. Panels burst into sparks. "Stabilize us," he roared. "It's not possible." The science officer cried. They've turned the planet's own gravity against us. In the neural chamber, the operators strained under the pressure. One collapsed, the neural link frying his console. Kara felt her vision blur, but she held on. "Focus," she shouted. "We end this now." Sentinel's arms unfolded into massive blades of shimmering energy. With a single upward strike, it ripped through the flagship's forward hull, carving deep into its core. Energy spilled out like liquid fire, splashing into the ocean below from the surface. The sight was terrifying, a giant metallic titan tearing apart a ship the size of a city, while lightning crackled across the blackened sky. In New York, people, watching from rooftops, gasped as the alien fleet broke apart, some ships trying to flee, others crashing in burning trails. In the control room, Reyes whispered, "They're running." Hale shook his head. "Not all of them. The flagship's weapon systems overloaded." The Karith commander staggered as his bridge filled with smoke. For the first time, his voice carried something alien to his nature. Fear. He turned to his surviving officers. "Retreat. Signal the fleet leave the system at once." "But Commander, that is not a human weapon," the commander snarled. "That is a warning." The retreat was chaos. Dozens of alien ships jumped to faster than light speed, leaving streaks of blue light across the sky. Others were destroyed before they could escape, Sentinel cutting them down with merciless precision. The flagship tried to pull away, but Sentinel stayed with it, matching every move. Kara's voice was low but steady. "We don't let it leave. Not after what they've done." The operators poured everything they had into the link. Sentinel's core burned brighter than ever before. With a final, devastating blow, it drove both energy blades straight through the flagship's heart. The explosion was blinding. A pillar of light shot upward, piercing the clouds and burning through the atmosphere. The shockwave flattened waves. For miles, when it faded, the flagship was gonna nothing left but fragments drifting on the ocean's surface. The neural link released. The operators gasped for breath, sweat pouring down their faces. Kara leaned back, closing her eyes. "It's over." In the command room, Reyes exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. "Sir, the fleet's gone. We won." Hale's gaze stayed on the screen. "No, we survived. Winning comes next." Far away, beyond human senses, the Karith survivors regrouped. They did not speak of revenge. They spoke of caution. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they had faced prey that fought like a predator. And somewhere, deep in their ancient memory, a warning began to spread. "Do not provoke humanity." The ocean was calm again. But it was the silence after a storm, the kind of silence that feels alive. Heavy, waiting dot above the Pacific, the last fragments of the alien flagship still drifted, glowing faintly as they sank into the depths. Smoke curled from the remains of smaller Karith vessels that Sentinel had cut down during the retreat. Across the world, the skies were clear once more. The alien fleet was gone in New York. People emerged from buildings, shielding their eyes against the sunlight they thought they'd never see again. In London, church bells rang, not for worship, but for survival. In Tokyo, soldiers lowered their rifles and looked at one another as if unsure whether they were still alive. The news spread like wildfire. Earth had fought back and won. Deep in the Rocky Mountain Command Center, the air was thick with exhaustion and disbelief. Operators slumped in their chairs, some crying quietly, others simply staring at the screens as if afraid the aliens might return any second. General Hale stood at the central console, arms folded, watching Sentinel's signal as it remained still in the Pacific. Colonel Reyes stepped up beside him. "Sir, global communication lines are coming back online. The world's waiting to hear from us." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Not just the world." Reyes tilted her head. "Sir, we didn't just fight off an attack," Hale said. "We sent a message. Now we make sure it's heard everywhere." Minutes later, the United Nations broadcast system was restored. The blue and white emblem filled every television, every screen, every holographic billboard across the planet. Then the feed cut to the command center. General Hale stood before the cameras. His uniform singed, his voice steady. "This is General Marcus Hale, speaking on behalf of the people of Earth." He paused, letting the silence settle. "Today, we were attacked by a force that believed we were weak. They crossed the stars to break us. They failed." He looked directly into the camera. "To whoever is watching on this planet, or beyond it, understand this. Humanity will not kneel. We will not surrender. We will fight with everything we have, and if we must, we will become something you cannot imagine." He stepped closer. "Tell your worlds, tell your fleets, tell your empires, if you come for Earth, you will not return." The message was transmitted not just across Earth, but into deep space. Powerful arrays on mountaintops and in orbit carried it on every frequency, in every known language, into the cold darkness between the stars. And out there, someone was listening. In a shadowed war council chamber on a distant world, a dozen alien leaders watched the human broadcast in silence. Some scoffed, others shifted uncomfortably. One, a reptilian admiral with scarred scales, leaned forward. "The Careth failed," he said softly. "That alone is worth noting. But this, Sentinel, this is something new." A thin, insectoid figure clicked its mandibles. "You think the humans can challenge us?" The Admiral's eyes were cold. "I think they already have." Back on Earth, Sentinel stood half-submerged in the Pacific, silent, its armor scorched, but intact. Inside the neural chamber, Kara Voss slowly removed her helmet. Her muscles ached, her head pounded, but she could still feel the faint echo of Sentinel's heartbeat. Rhea's voice came over the coms. "Good work, Voss. You and your team just saved the planet." Kara didn't answer right away. She looked at the others, exhausted, pale, but enlivened, then at the ocean horizon. "They'll be back," she said quietly. Hale's voice came through next. "Yes, and when they come, we'll be ready." That night, across every city, town, and village on Earth, lights burned late into the darkness. Some were from celebrations, people singing, hugging, crying. Others were from war rooms, scientists, engineers, and leaders already planning what came next, because they all knew the truth. This was not the end. It was the beginning. Far above, on the edge of the solar system, the last surviving Careth scout ship drifted in silence. Its hull was cracked, its crew battered. The commander sent a single message into the void. "Earth is not prey. Repeat, Earth is not prey." It would take years to reach the nearest Careth world. But once it did, the warning would spread like fire, and somewhere in the darkness, alien warlords would remember it before sending their fleets. In the command center, Hale turned to Reyes. "Status on Sentinel." "Stable," she replied. "Repairs will take months, but it's still functional." Hale allowed the faintest smile. "Good, we'll make it stronger." Kara stood outside on the platform above the base, the cold mountain wind on her face. She looked up at the stars, not with fear, but with a quiet challenge. Somewhere up there, entire civilizations now knew Earth existed. And somewhere up there, they were deciding whether to test it again. Kara almost hoped they would. The next morning, newspapers carried the same headline across the globe: Earth strikes back. And for the first time in history, humanity didn't just feel small under the stars. It felt dangerous. This was how legends began, and in the centuries to come, long after the last Karath fleet was gone, beings in far-off galaxies would still tell their children the same warning: do not provoke the humans.